Hey guys, welcome along to the presentation. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very honored to be able to present this to you today when it loads. Today I'm going to be conducting a presentation on vegan supplements. My name is Tomm Melody, so we're just going to talk a little bit about me to begin with. So I'm a personal trainer, a lifestyle coach, founder of Planted Fitness and the Vegan Health Summit. So ultimately, I help my clients to get in their ideal shape, to get in their ideal health. And the way we do that in the Planted 10 program is by helping them to create a new identity. So it's not just about restrictive, diets that last 6 to 12 weeks, but it's about actually looking at the long-term picture of where people want to be, not just in the fitness, not just in the nutrition, but also in the lifestyle. Along with that, founded the Vegan Health Summit. We held our first event last year, and we got another one at the end of March in 2021. So this is a growing event. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that or Planted Fitness coaching, then I will provide you with a link at the end of the presentation. So today I'm here to give you a little brief overview on plant-based supplements that you might want to consider taking if you're thinking about this way of life. Look, I know how you're feeling, right? When I decided that I was going to go vegan, I was very scared. That fear is very real. And I think we forget this as we move on in the process, but it's often helpful to go back and to relate to how we were feeling. I thought that unless I take a jar of supplements, rattling it around every day, then I was going to be deficient in a wide range of different things. But now I know, of course, it's not quite as complicated as that. And it's quite easy to take the supplements that we need to be as healthy as possible. And it doesn't have to be a complicated process or anything like that. So it will be beneficial to consider if we are intaking enough of the nutrients and discuss in this presentation. So this is plant-based or not. Some of the supplements that we're talking about are not just relating to vegans, or there's various different issues that we're going to discuss as we go through. So most people are put off from plant-based living because of supplementation. And the view on this obviously is that if you have to supplement it, it's not very natural, it's not very healthy. But supplements can be used for our own good. I used to have a very kind of negative view on supplements, thinking that if you're taking a supplement, be that for my training or whatever, it was not going to be healthy. But now I know that just because you have the supplement, it does not mean something is unhealthy or that it's not natural or that you can't get results with it. So in reality, the supplementation in a plant-based lifestyle is very minimal. And if you're already supplementing for the gym, you might be taking a protein powder, you might be taking creatine, you might be taking something else. If you're already doing that kind of thing, then it's going to be very easy for you to take on board the supplements that you're going to require in a plant-based lifestyle. So we know that according to the British Dietetic Association, they agree that a well-planned plant-based diet can be healthy at every life stage. So we have got all the information we need to know this is an optimally healthy lifestyle at every stage. But of course, we need to make sure it's well planned, and we need to have that knowledge there to allow us to be able to make sure that we're not going to be deficient in anything and we can live as healthy as possible. But as I say, this process is going to be a lot less complicated than you think. So in this presentation, I'm going to walk you through some of the ways that you may want to, some supplements and various other things that you may want to ensure is in your diet, in your lifestyle, so you can avoid deficiencies. So don't overcomplicate it. Just aim for a wide variety of whole plant-based products. Ensure that you're consuming enough calories, eat the rainbow, and check on Chronometer just to make sure you're getting those boxes in the green. So, we may need to utilize more of a focus on macros and that kind of thing if our goal is to change our body shape. But if we're just looking to be healthy, the process is relatively simple. And generally, it just comes back to eating more whole foods. So a lot of people talk about, oh, if you're deficient in magnesium, zinc, iron, this kind of thing, eat this, this, and this. But you'll find as we go through the presentation, it's very much always the same answer: more whole foods. And of course, there's specific whole foods that have more magnesium or more zinc. But generally, if we are covering ourselves by consuming a wide range of whole foods and we are eating enough calories, you're probably going to find that you're in the ranges in Chronometer. And if you don't believe me, check it out on Chronometer and you can see for yourself exactly where you're at. So vitamin B12, often spoken about, often a concern, but not intaking adequate amounts of vitamin B12 can be a problem. Now, our body can store levels of vitamin B12 for 6 months to several years. So it can take some time for us to actually appreciate that it's a problem. And you might be forgetting to take your vitamin B12 supplement for 6 years, have no issue, then all of a sudden, uh-oh, done, 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 all that kind of thing. So B12 deficiencies are not exclusive to the vegan community. There's plenty of people who consume meat, who consume animal products that have issues with B12. It's never far from the headlines. It's never far from the doctor's surgery, right? Symptoms include fatigue, weakness, lightheadedness, dizziness, heart palpitations, tinnitus, etc., etc., etc. You can read the rest. But vitamin B12 or 9, commonly called folate, the deficiency occurs when a lack of vitamin B12 or folate causes the body to produce abnormally large red blood cells that cannot function properly. Red blood cells carry oxygen around the body using a substance called hemoglobin. Anemia is a general term for having either fewer red blood cells than normal or having an abnormally low amount of hemoglobin in each red blood cell. So we continue on and on this path. Now, B12 deficiency is not just a vegan problem. Just to give you some stats, it's estimated that 40% of the US may be deficient. And the NHS recommends, we will be referencing the NHS quite a lot in this presentation, which will make more sense if you're UK based, as I am, in case you haven't told already. But adults aged 19 to 64 need about 1.5 micrograms a day of vitamin B12. Plant-based sources of vitamin B12 include nutritional yeast, nori, shiitake mushrooms. But if you speak to any nutritionist, dietitian, medical doctor, plant-based, they will probably tell you, or they will tell you with certainty, to still take the vitamin B12 supplement to safeguard yourself. And just to be clear, I'm a nutrition fanatic. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a lifestyle coach. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist. So what I'm including in this presentation is coming from, respected people in the community, along with research and my own experience that I've considered over the years. So the next one is vitamin D. Vitamin D, as I say again, not just a vegan problem, not just something that vegans should think about, but vitamin D keeps our teeth, bones, and muscles healthy. It's made in our bodies when our skin is exposed to the beautiful sunlight. So in darker months, we may want to consider supplementing. Again, the NHS recommends from November to March that we consider supplementing with vitamin D, but do be careful. Some vitamin D supplements are not vegan. They're not suitable for vegans. So we want to aim for a D2 and lectin-derived vitamin D3, which is suitable. So there are some sources of D in food. So if we want to look at the non-plant-based versions, here you can see them there: eggs, yolk, liver, blah, blah, blah. But if we're looking at plant-based sources, oranges, soy, and mushrooms, but just like with the B12, it's recommended to take that supplement as a safeguard. Try not to forget. So what does this woman have to do with a presentation about vegan supplements? I invite you to place your hand in the air and tell me who this lady is. I'd be very surprised if most people don't know. This is indeed the one, the only Maggie Thatcher. Now, I say that not to congratulate her. She has a very sordid political history, which we're not going to get into in this presentation. It's not at all relevant. But regardless of what your political views are, the reason she's in this presentation, you might be asking, why is she in there? You certainly will be asking, why is she in there? I'm going to tell you. The reason she's in there is because she has a strong connection to milk. Thatcher, the Milk Snatcher was a common phrase in the 70s, or was it 80s? I don't know. I wasn't alive then, I'm told. So what Maggie Thatcher did is she struck off the milks from the primary school children's list in the UK. Now, this used to be a commonplace thing. If you're of the older generation, I might get some hate for that, but if you're of the older generation, you may well remember sitting at school with a carton of milk, supping it down, when mean Thatcher comes in, not personally, but she arranges. She took your milk from you, and she wasn't very popular from this. Now, at this time, obviously, people thought that milk was a staff of life, literally. They thought that you needed milk to keep your bones strong. Milk is high in calcium, and if you don't consume enough milk, oh gosh, well, what's going to happen? So she wasn't very popular for this. She was cutting back, obviously. But there were a lot of deprived children that really relied on that nutrition, even though it's not obviously vegan. We are talking about the 70s/80s here. So I probably should know whether it was 70s or 80s. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 80s. Anyway, it's very important that we do consider that, milk was seen as much more of an important thing than it is now, what we know now. obviously, people were concerned about calcium. Maggie, how could you take the calcium from our dear, dear children? Now, calcium is essential for bone health. It also regulates muscle contractions. This includes your heartbeat, and it makes sure your blood clots normally. And a lack of calcium can lead to rickets in children and osteoporosis in later life. There is no denying that calcium is abundant in milk, but it's not the only source, of course. We do not need Daisy Cow to produce our milk for us. At the end of the day, as Dr. Michael Clapper famously said in the famous documentary. What was that documentary called? It was called, I can't, it's completely left my head. Please, if you can comment with the name of that documentary, which I'll remember as soon as this is finished. It is, you are not a baby cow. You're not a baby calf. You do not need to consume dairy milk like you are a calf that needs to grow in a very short space of time, right? Okay, so adults 19 to 64 need 700 milligrams of calcium a day. Now, the plant-based sources of calcium include fortified plant-based dairy alternatives. This is things like dried fruit, nuts, almonds, leafy greens, red kidney beans, sesame seeds, tahini, and tofu. It's so easy to get your calcium from plant-based foods. Just make sure you're consuming enough. Make sure you're keeping an eye on it. I'm not saying, just go easy come, easy go. You do need to, as you're adjusting to this new lifestyle, it is a large change for a lot of people. So you do need to make sure that you've got your eye on the ball. We want to be as healthy as possible, right? So there's no harm in putting a few days of eating into Chronometer now and then. Often I'm working with my clients to be much more detailed than that because a lot of them have goals to do photo shoots, compete in physique competitions, that kind of thing. But if your goal is just general health, it's really not that complicated. We just need to make sure that we're laser focused on the choices that we're making and just having kind of that mindset of, where's my calcium here? Where's my iron? Protein, all that kind of thing. So talking of irons, we're not talking about doing the ironing, but we are talking about iron. Now, iron is important in making red blood cells, which carry oxygen around the body. Iron is an important component of hemoglobin, the substance which we spoke about earlier in red blood cells that carries oxygen from your lungs to transport it throughout your body. Now, here are the recommended daily intakes of iron from the NHS. I'm going to go through some plant-based sources of iron now. We've got dried fruits, we've got whole grains, nuts, leafy greens. Again, you see the pattern, right? The form iron takes in plant foods, or it's absorbed far less efficiently compared to animal-derived sources such as meat, etc. There is a difference between heme iron, which we see in animal products, and non-heme iron, which we see in plant products. But generally, what happens with heme iron is the body takes on too much iron sometimes. You can have an iron overload, which can be a little bit problematic at times, whereas a non-heme iron is very different. Your body will only take what it needs, and we can get what we need in abundance from plant foods as long as we're making sure we're consuming a range of different foods. You get the idea, right? So we want to eat plenty of fruits and vegetables with our iron sources mentioned here, with a vitamin C little spritz. So that might just be, a spritz of a lemon or spritz of orange, something like that, just to help us with the absorption there. Also, just be careful if you are a heavy tea drinker. You don't want to drink your tea too close to your iron consumption because it will affect the absorption. So if you're eating your dinner and you've got some lovely leafy greens in there, then try not to have a cup of tea for an hour to an hour and a half after or before, so we can make sure we're absorbing that optimally. I see my parents quite a lot, which is a little bit infuriating to me, but what they do is they have the iron and they wash it down with a big gulp of tea. This is a supplement, by the way, but you don't necessarily need to take as long as you're consuming enough of these ingredients. Choline. It's not a vitamin. It's not a mineral. It's an organic water-soluble compound. Now, it impacts liver function, healthy brain development, muscle movement, your nervous system, and metabolism. Now, choline is a recent discovery, and because of this, there's not a clear RDI that I could find anywhere, to be honest. It's not been officially set. However, the Institute of Medicine has set the below estimates, which you can use. But as I say, not something to stress about, wake up in the middle of the night, oh my God, am I choline deficient? No, unless there's any medical concerns that you have, then obviously you might speak about that with your registered dietitian or whatever relevant healthcare professional. Moving on to a favorite of mine, omega-3 fatty acids. I could talk about this fascinating subject all day. So omega-3 fatty acids are important to maintain a healthy heart and reduce the risk of heart disease when eaten as part of a healthy plant-based diet. Now, we can get plenty of short chain ALA from fatty acids from our plant-based foods. Now, the body then converts ALA into EPA or DHA, but we're not 100% sure exactly how much ALA is then converted into EPA or DHA. So EPA and DHA are longer chain fatty acids. And these are the things that we get from cod liver oil supplements, from eating fish, from all those kind of things that people really obsess over. And, you know, it's considered very healthy to consume these products. But we have to remember that the way in which the fish gets the DHA itself is by consuming the algae on the top of the water and then intaking that into their bodies. So it's not like we're getting the EPA or DHA from the fish itself. It is all coming from the plant-based product. So some plant-based doctors out there will recommend that you take a DHA supplement, whereas some will not. It's no kind of there's no clear decisive action on this. And I did speak to Dr. Michael Clapper and asked him this question directly in a recent vegan health summit, and his response was really that it depends, right? If you're a young kind of guy or girl and you live in a very healthy lifestyle, you're training, do you need to be too concerned about taking a DHA supplement? Probably not if you're intaking enough ALA from the sources that we will mention below. But then, you know, if you're a little bit older, it might be something that you want to consider just taking that supplement. There was some research that emerged that suggested potentially taking too much DHA could be harmful. So that's where that came from. If anyone does want the link to the Vegan Health Summit, as I say, it will be at the end of the presentation. But here we go with some plant-based sources of omega-3 fatty acids. We got walnuts, chia seeds, wild rice, tofu, kidney beans, all the good stuff. Vitamin A. So our bodies turn carotenoids from plant foods into vitamin A. This vitamin is required for growth, development, eye health, and normal functioning of our immune system. Now, the main sources of beta carotene are yellow, red, and green leafy vegetables, such as spinach, carrots, sweet potatoes, and red peppers. Yellow fruits such as mango, papaya, apricots. You can read the rest below, but the amount that is required is generally agreed by the NHS. Again, 19 to 64 is 0.7 milligrams for men and 0.6 for women. Iodine. Oh yes, we all love a bit of seaweed, right, from the Chinese shop. Iodine can be difficult to include in your plant-based diet. Your body uses iodine to make thyroid hormones. Now, it's generally agreed that if we're eating seaweed or a similar product that is grown close to the sea, there's going to be a higher iodine content than something that's grown a bit further away. But we can't guarantee the quantities in each product. So some plant-based doctors are now recommending that adults take an iodine supplement, which you can get in abundance from lots of different places. But if we want to look at, you know, consuming more iodine in our diet, then of course we can look at seaweed, kelp, spirulina, that kind of thing. But if you really want to safeguard yourself, the plant-based doctors are currently recommending that you take an iodine supplement. But as I say, this is purely my advice. This is not me telling you what to do for 1 second. So iodine salts and seaweeds are another option, and consider supplementing, as I've mentioned just there. Zinc. So zinc helps us fight off bacteria and viruses. It also helps our taste I put there. Don't know what I meant by that. To reduce hair loss, speeding up reactions. It's possible to get all the zinc you need from eating a varied, again, plant-based, vegan, whatever you want to call it, diet. So for adults in the UK, recommended daily intake for zinc is 7 milligrams. For women, 9.5. So zinc sources: chickpeas, lentils, tofu, walnuts, cashew nuts, chia seeds, ground linseed, hemp seed, pumpkin seeds, wholemeal bread, and quinoa. So here we go. Vitamin K, another favorite here. The process of blood clotting requires vitamin K. Now, this nutrient is also thought to play a role in bone health and the functioning of our kidneys. Vitamin K1 is made by plants. It's found in Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale, broccoli, spinach, spring greens, spring onions, kiwi fruit. Just make sure that your diet contains a good amount of this nutrient. So going back to the fatty acids, in a similar sense, we've got vitamin K1 and vitamin K2. Now, in terms of plant-based sources of vitamin K2, this is about it. Here we go here. Anybody seen this before? Anybody tried it? I'm curious because I've not tried it. Apologies for that. I've not tried it. It's called natto. It's a Japanese delicacy, if you like. And apparently it tastes absolutely disgusting, but it is a source of vitamin K2. Now, you may want to consider supplementing a vitamin K2 as well. There's no conclusive kind of guidance on this as such, but we can get vitamin K2. You know, it comes from K1, and in the same way as with the omega-3 fatty acids, it's then converted into K2. But again, we're not exactly sure how much of that is. So I wouldn't stress too much about this, but you may want to consider a K2 supplement, something Dr. Clapper also talked about in a recent Vegan Health Summit. Selenium. Selenium is a powerful antioxidant. I love selenium. I made a video on YouTube once about it. Not many people watched it, but I enjoyed it. Selenium is a powerful antioxidant that helps us with metabolism and thyroid function. So antioxidants protect our cells, right? To give you the short answer. Plant-based sources include Brazil nuts. So just one Brazil nut per day will be your recommended daily intake, give or take. But we do need to be careful that we don't overconsume on selenium. If you're going to take 7, 8, 9, 10 Brazil nuts, you may be risking becoming a little bit affected by that, to be honest. It's not recommended. Plant-based sources include Brazil nuts, sunflower seeds, whole wheat pasta, brown rice, quinoa, and spinach. RDI 55 milligrams for adults, 60 milligrams for pregnant women. So just to touch on the supplements for the gym that you may want to consider in a plant-based lifestyle. So protein powder is never far from the headlines, right? In terms of which is the best plant-based protein powder to take. Well, what we want to be looking for when we click on Vivo or we click on this website is, yeah, okay, here's my product. Now what's the ingredients? You know, I can see that it's got 20 to 25 grams of protein. That's great. But what's the ingredients? It's all well and good having a protein powder that tastes amazing, but really what's inside it? And often it can be very unhealthy. A lot of the cheaper protein powders will contain sweeteners. They will contain different enhancers, and they're very heavily processed. So one of the best places to go for your protein powder is Vivo. Viva Life, you know, they have an amazing range, and the best thing about their protein powders is they're very, very healthy. They also have an amino acid profile on their website, which is not something that you see very often. So we have essential amino acids within protein that are not made within our body, and we must take them from our diet. And when we are looking to, train in the gym, we want to be considering muscle protein synthesis. And this is basically the function that's going to help us to build stronger muscle. An important amino acid, this could be a whole other presentation, so I won't go too much into the weeds of this in a moment, but an important amino acid to consider is leucine. And we want to try and make sure that our vegan protein powder has at least got 3.5 grams of leucine per serving, because it's generally agreed that this is at the point in which we're going to optimally, I was going to say seduce, then we're optimally going to produce muscle protein synthesis. So just make sure that you're taking a deeper look at your protein powder and not just choosing it on flavor. These are two good products that I do recommend here. This one's a little bit more pricey. Well, they're both actually a little bit more pricey. This is at the top end, but Vivo has things like digestive enzymes and that in their protein powders. That's just going to really help you with the digestion and absorption of that. So another thing to mention, I don't want to get too much into the weeds of the gym supplements, but another one that you might want to take is creatine. This is going to increase your production of ATP, which is just basically your energy. It's classed as the currency and the energy that you need to use in explosive activities in the gym. So this is a kind of roundup of what I would recommend that you look at if you're looking to be a healthy vegan, if you're looking to achieve results with your fitness, with your health. Now, if you do want to find out a little bit more about my coaching and what my program involves, my Planted 10 program, you can find out more at plantedfitness.net and Planted Fitness on all socials. There is information on the Vegan Health Summit on there as well. And if you do want to rewatch the last summit's free event at the moment, you can get all the helpful nuggets that we got from the various guests on there, which was including Dr. Clapper, We had Fed from Naturally Fed there, we had Dr. Yami, you had Dr. Leo Venus on there, Cohen Basson, Sean from Ireland, and many other great speakers. So I'm really excited for the next one, and I'm really excited for the events coming up this year as well. So take care, guys, and we'll speak soon.